Welcome back everyone. So today we are going to be building the Marvel-Pedia application. This is the final project look like. And as you can see, we have just a grid here with couple card of the character. As you can see here, when I click the detail of the character, we have the detail here. Okay, we can go back. This is just really simple. And also we are going to make this search working. So as you can see, when I click man, it should be looking for a character that have the man name here. Great. I can also do something else. Let's do that. And as you can see, we have the another character as well. Great. And also for this application, we are going to use Next.js 13 app router. This is really cool, of course. And we are going to use the Marvel API. Just make sure you go to developer.marvel.com and you can click account and go to your account here, and you can get your public key and private key. And also we are going to use Daisy UI to make it a little bit look nicer, something like this. And yeah, hopefully this video is not going to be long, but I hope you learn a lot of things. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing is let's open the terminal, and here I'm going to close my application here, and I'm going to go through my YouTube content folder. Let's say YouTube-content folder, and in here I'm going to say make directory. I'm going to call that let's say Marvel-Pedia. And I'm going to cd into Marvel-Pedia. All right, so in here I'm going to generate next application. So let's make it like so. Open the Next.js.org, go through installation here, and I'm going to just copy this command and paste that right here. And I'm going to generate the application in the current folder, so I can say /. Let's say hit enter. Let's hit enter, and also I'm going to use TypeScript, yes, ESLint, yes, Tailwind, I'm going to say yes, source, yes, and app router, this is recommend, of course I'm going to say yes, and import alias, just say no, and it's going to be install all the dependency for us. Just wait for that. Alright, it's done. So we can say code dot to open the folder into the VS Code. And the first thing is let's say npm run dev to start the localhost 3000. Let's open that to the browser, and this is what we have by default. Okay, great. So now let's go through the source here, and I'm going to open the global CSS here. I think it's fine. And now I'm gonna go through the page.tsx, and in here I'm going to remove all the content here. So let's remove all the div inside the main, like so. And also I'm going to remove all of this class name here. Great. So in here I'm going to say heading 1, and let's say hello world. Let's save, and let's take a look what we have right here. Let's go back to the global CSS, I think, and I'm going to remove the road here. Here we go. We just have hello world. So what we need to do first is let's go to the layout.tsx, and in here the title, we need to change that. As you can see here, the title by default is create next app. I'm going to change that to something like Marvel-Pedia. So I'm going to say Marvel-Pedia. And also the description, we can do anything you want, guys. So I'm going to say your let's say Marvel characters encyclopedia, just like that. So let's save, and as you can see we have Marvel-Pedia here. That's working nice. And the next thing we need to do is let's create a navbar. So navbar, it should be inside this body and in the top of these children here, so we can put the navbar right here. So now let's create the navbar inside the source here, components folder, and inside the components I'm going to create a file called navbar.tsx. Great. So in here, I'm going to create functional component. And now let's import the navbar here. So now we should be able to see navbar. It's great. So let's go back to the Daisy UI. We need to install the Daisy UI now. So let's copy this Daisy UI, add lettuce. And I'm going to open another terminal here. And let's paste that in here. It's going to be installed the Daisy UI. And also we need to put the plugin into the tailwind config.js. So let's go to tailwind config and go to plugin. We need to put that like so. Great. So let's go back here. This is gonna be nothing happened basically because we don't use any Daisy UI component. So now let's go through the navbar or header. I think this one here. I'm gonna click on that. And what I'm gonna use is this one here because we need to use the search functionality here. So I think we can just copy that, all the code here. Let's go back to navbar and we can just return down here, just like that. And also we don't really need to use these props, so we can just remove that. And also this curly braces right here. And now let's take a look what we have. And as you can see, this is gonna be something like that. But of course, I'm not gonna use this image. So let's remove that, which is this div here. Okay, so let's remove all of that. And now it's gonna be more simple. And the next thing is I'm going to wrap this navbar here with a container. So now let's create custom class for Tailwind. Let's go through the, I think global CSS, and in here, we need to create class called container, and I'm gonna give a styling here. So let's apply some styling. The maximal width, I'm gonna set that to 7XL. And also I'm going to make it center, so I can say MX to auto. Just like that. And now we can go back to the navbar, and in here I can say container, just like that. So as you can see, now we have the maximal width. If I go something like this, as you can see, it's working. It is great, of course. So we need to, you can wrap this with tag header if you want. You can say header like so and put all the div inside the header tag. Great. So it's gonna be look really nice. So the next thing is let's create the content inside this home section here. And now what we need to do is let's first wrap this with container. So let's do, I think we can just remove this and put a div. And this div here have a class name called container. And also here I'm going to put heading 1. Let's say heading 1, popular character. Character Marvel, I think. Just like that. So as you can see, now we have this title. We need to put that into the center. So I can do here, let's say text to center. And also I'm going to add margin top to 10, just to make it space here. Great. So now I'm going to make it this a little bit more bigger. So I'm going to say class name set equals to text is going to be 3XL. And also the font, I'm going to set that to bold. And also just add some underline. So the next thing is let's add the grid here. Down here, I'm going to do div. This div here is basically have a grid class. So I'm going to say grid. And the gap between the card, it should be 4. But for now, I just want to, let's just render the character card here. We don't have yet. So let's create that into the components folder. So I'm going to say character card.tsx. Great. So we can say functional component. And now we can just import this, something like that. Now we should be able to see character card. So I'm going to just copy and paste this couple times. And now I'm going to make a column. So I'm going to say for small, I'm going to do grid columns. It's going to be 2 column. As you can see, we have 2 column now. All right. And also for the medium and more, for the medium, I'm going to say grid columns into, I'm going to say 3. And as you can see, we have 3, 2, and then 1. Great. And also I'm going to add margin top here. Say margin top to, I'm going to say 10. Nice. All right, I think we're done with this grid. So now let's go to the character card, and let's go back to the Daisy UI and let's looking for card. So let's scroll up and this one here. And I think we are gonna use this card glass here, I think, because we need to use the image and also some title here and the detail, right? So let's just click that and copy this, and let's go back to character card, and we need to paste that right here, just like that. And for the image, and for now I just want to comment that, and yeah, just something like that. And let's see what we have. Okay, it's nice. And as you can see, something wrong happened here. Basically, I don't want to use the glass effect here, so I can just remove that. And also, I think I'm going to add something like shadow here. So let's say shadow to, I'm going to say XL. Here we go. And of course, when I go small, as you can see, something wrong happened here because we set the width to 96. We need to set that to full, like so. All right, it's great. And also I'm going to add some background in this card maybe. So I'm going to say background to, let's say base 100. Let's save. And yeah, just something like that. Maybe 200. Yeah, just something like that. It's okay. So what the next thing we need to do is I'm going to, let's working with the API now. Let's go to the developer.marvel.com. Just make sure guys you create your account here and just copy the public key and also the private key. So let's go through the source here, and I'm going to create folder. I'm going to call this utils folder, like so. And inside this utils folder, I'm going to create a file called api.ts. Great. So in here, I'm going to create a variable called API base URL. And also I'm going to create the API underscore public underscore key, right? And also I'm going to create the API private key. Great. So let's go back to the developer marvel.com, and I'm going to copy the public key. Let's put that right here. And also the private key, let's copy and paste that right here. Great. So now let's go to the I think interaction documentation here. This is the endpoint that you can use to get the information. Let's see in the bottom here, as you can see, the base URL is https://getawaymarvel.com. So we can just copy that and paste that right here. And I'm going to add the version 1/public, because as you can see in the documentation here, every endpoint starts with version 1 public. Nice. So next here, I'm going to create the function to get all the characters. So I'm going to say export function call get characters. Yeah, just get characters. Set that equals to, it's going to be async await function. So I'm going to say async set that equals to arrow function. And in here, I'm going to say const URL set that equals to, I'm going to put the base URL here, base URL, API base URL, and also slash, as you can see here, slash characters. So now let's go to the how-tos and go to the authorization. As you can see, basically we need to combine all these information and add that into the MD5. Just we are going to encrypt the TS, which is the timestamp, the private key, and also the public key. And we are going to use that as a hash right here, query, as you can see. And we're going to send the TS, the API key, and the hash. So we need to install package MD5 to helping us to encrypt this TS private key and public key. So let's go through the MD5 package. So you can just click this npm.js.package/md5. I'm going to put link on the description, so just click that. And now we need to just install the package. So you can paste that here and say npm install md5. Great. So now how to use that is very simple. Basically first we need to import md5. So let's go back here. We need to say import md5 from md5 like so. And as you can see, we have some warning here because I'm using TypeScript, we need to also install the types. So let's just copy these types here, and I'm going to install the type/md5. Great, it's done. Of course, the error is gonna be gone. Great. So now let's go back to the documentation here, and as you can see, we need to do something like this, right? So first we need to create the timestamp. So let's go up here. I'm going to do const get timestamp set equals to our function like so, and I'm going to say date dot now. Oh yeah, basically TS is timestamp or other long string which can change on a request by request basis. You can do basically anything which is as long this is random and you can change request by request basis. Okay, and we're going to use a timestamp for now. So let's do date.now, and then here I'm going to say to string like so. All right, and also if I maybe console log that, of course we're gonna get the string, random string. So let's save here. Wait, something wrong. I'm gonna save, and let's just use this into the page. So in here I'm gonna say const I'm gonna do characters set equals to await for this function like that. Of course we need to import that from the untils, and because we're using await, of course we need to add async keyword here just like that. And as you can see, we have some warning going on down here. Oh, my bad, we not add const in front of this name variable, so you can say const. Let's do also const inside in here like so. So as you can see here, we get a random string every time I save or make a request here. So I'm gonna refresh, and as you can see, this is going to be random string. Nice, this is basically the TS. So now we are going to create a variable called query. So I'm gonna say const query set equals to, let's remove this console, Let's go back to the documentation, and here we are going to use this query here. I'm going to copy that and put that right here. We're going to use backtick like so. The TS here is basically the timestamp. So now I'm going to create cons timestamp set equals to get timestamp, and I'm gonna run that like so. And now we need to put this value to this TS right here like so. And also the API key is basically this as you can see here, the API key is basically the public key, right? So let's go back, and here I'm going to remove and put the public key right here. So we can say public API underscore public key like so. And the hash here is basically come from the MD5. So we are going to create that right here. So I'm going to do cons let's say hash set equals to, I'm going to create a function called get hash. Wait, get hash, and this function here take a timestamp like so. And up here I'm going to do cons get hash set equals to, we get the timestamp, it's gonna be string, and in here I'm gonna return MD5 like so, and I'm gonna put the timestamp plus the API private key and plus API public key. All right, like in this documentation here. Nice. So now, where is this? Oh, yep. We need to put the timestamp in the top of the hash, and now we can use this hash into this long string here. So let's put that like so. All right, great. So this query here is basically in here, so we can put like so. Yep, great. So it's gonna be work. So here I'm gonna say cons response set equals to await. I'm gonna wait for fetch, and here I'm gonna put the URL like so. And down here I'm gonna return, let's say return, and basically guys, you can say just return response and you will get the data into the page here. When I console log the characters, I hope I can see the, as you can see in the terminal here, we have all this data inside. As you can see, the status is 200 and etc. And of course, let's go back here. We need to basically do cons data set equals to, we can say response.json, and we can return the data like that. As you can see, we have the total data, the count, the result here, all the data. But I'm going to create another function to handle this return. So let's do up here. I'm going to say cons, let's say handle response set equals to, it's going to be async await function, async arrow function like so. And inside in here, this is basically like a response. So you can say response, and I'm going to call that down here basically. So you can say return, and then what the name of the function, handle response, you can put like so. And in here I'm going to send the response just like that. And the response here is basically, we can do inside in here, we can check if the response is not okay, something wrong happened. We need to, let's just throw an error. through new error, and I'm gonna say response dot status text. We don't get the value here because we don't really tell the TypeScript what is this. So now I'm going to create a type. So let's do inside the source. I'm going to do file call types, and inside this type I'm going to do marvels.ts. Okay, so in here I'm going to say export. Let's say interface call characters, and this character here is basically it's going to be uppercase C, like so. And inside in here I have ID is number. I have also name is basically string. We have the description, let's say description, like so, it's going to be string. And also we have the thumbnail is basically an object, and inside this object we have the path, it's gonna be string. And also we have the extension is basically also a string. Nice. So down here I'm going to export another interface. This interface here is basically a character, I want to say character data wrapper, like so. And this basically a result, and also in this result is array of this character object. Great. So now let's go back to api.ts here, and I'm gonna tell the handle response here is basically will have type call. Let's do here. The type is basically character data wrapper, and also this function here will return. Will return promise with data call character data wrapper, like so. And of course in this thing here we get the type. The type is basically this character data wrapper, and this response have a type called response. And now when we specify this response to response type, we can say like response.status text. As you can see, we have the suggestion. Great. So down here we can say const and then data set equals to, oh wait, and then I'm going to say response.json, like that. And down here I'm going to return data.data, and this is basically type. Okay, as you can see, the type is character data wrapper. Nice. So now if I go back to the page.tsx, and as you can see, we console log here, and yep, as you can see, we have all this data into the terminal. You have the ID, name, description, the thumbnail is basically object, and another data. Great, everything look working. So now we need to map through these characters. So I'm going to remove this, and let's say character dot results. As you can see, we have the suggestion, and I'm going to say dot map, and then I'm going to get the individual character. And as you can see, this is typo, guys, so sorry about that. I'm going to say characters, and this is basically for individual character, like so. And here I'm gonna return the character card, so you can say character card, like so. And in this character card we need to send the key set equals to, the key is basically character dot id, and also the character itself, so we need to send that, like so. But as you can see, we have some warning here because in character card we don't specify any props right here. As you can see, this is empty. So now I'm gonna say character. The character is basically have type character, come from the types Marvel, which is this one here, right? So we need to put the character here inside this object. And now, as you can see, when I say character dot, as you can see, we have the description, ID, name, and also the thumbnail. Great. So next, we need to just put the title here. So we can say character dot name. Nice. And also, I'm gonna remove this description. And for this text here, I'm gonna say detail, and I'm gonna put the name of the character. So we can say character dot name, just like that. And now let's see what we have. Cannot read undefined name. Yeah, that's because I got a typo here, so I can say character, just like that. And hopefully now it's gonna be work. And as you can see, we have all this name of the character and we have the detail. Great. So now we need to put the image. So first, I just want to console log the character object, and let's go back to page. And I just want to remove this console log. Great. So now we need to see what the value inside this character, and you cannot see in the console because this is a server component. And as you can see here inside the character, we have the as you can see, ID, name, description, thumbnail. And inside this thumbnail, we have path and the extension. So this is basically we need to use inside the image here. So let's remove the comment, and I'm going to use image tag from the next/image. And in here, I'm going to put the source. The source should be, let's say, I'm going to get the character dot path. So I can say character dot path. Wait. Oh, not path. It's going to be thumbnail dot path. And also, I'm going to add dot here. And let's put the extension. So I can say character dot thumbnail dot extension. Just like that. And also we need to add the alt here. The alt should be, I want to put the character name. And also we need to add the width and height. Width is, I'm going to say 500. And the height, I'm going to say 400. Just like so. And I'm going to remove the console and see what we have. As you can see, the host name is inihil.us, and we need to add this link, the host name here, into the next config. We can add images, so we can say images, and then here you can say object, and I'm going to say domains, and here I'm going to put array and put the host name. So now we can refresh, and hopefully the error should be gone. And as you can see, we get the image here. If you get some warning or error, just make sure you restart your server. And yep, everything look working now. So the next thing what we need to do is let's create the detail page. So to create the detail page with Next.js 13, it's really simple. So let's close everything to make it simple. Let's go to source and app. So basically here you can create maybe like slash detail. You can create folder called detail, or slash character. You can create folder called character. So that's what we are going to use. So now I'm going to go through app here and create a folder called character. And inside a character, it should have file called page.tsx. So in here, I'm going to say functional component, and I'm going to save this, and let's take a look. We should see page here, as you can see, right? But when I click this when I click the detail of the character I need to, is going to be should have the ID inside the character. So not just character, I need to have like character slash 12 or any kind of the ID of this character. So that's why here we need to create another folder inside the character, something like this array, and inside the array you can set the slug or ID. So for now I'm gonna put ID, and the page here it should be inside the ID like so. Great. So in here I'm gonna change this page here to, I want to say character character detail, or we can just say character page like so. So now if I go to the localhost 3000 slash character slash 12, we get this page here. Nice. So how do we get the ID here? We need to get this ID to make a request in the Marvel API, which is we are going to use this public slash character ID. So how do we get the params here, the ID here? So it's simple. So in here we can get the params. So you can say params, or you can basically add the props here. We can say params is going to be object and ID. ID is basically string. Why this is ID? Because here you put we put the folder called ID, so that's why we can get the ID. Great. So here I can say cons. I grab the ID from params, just like that. So now if I console log the ID, we should see the ID that we paste that into here. If I refresh, and as you can see we have 12 in the terminal. If I change that to 1 to 3, and we should see 1 to 3. Great. So now we need to fetch the API here, the API detail. And again, what we need to do here is really similar like the page inside the main here. Okay, like this one. So I think we can just copy this and paste that right here. But of course, we need to add async in this function like so. And it's not gonna be get character, but get detail character. And I'm sure that we don't have the get detail, so I think we can just copy and paste this function, and I'm gonna change the name to detail character. So we can say detail character. It's gonna be just single character. And what the API I'm gonna use is, let's go back here. We're gonna use this API. So I think we are gonna say I'm gonna get the character ID here, character ID. This is gonna be string, and we can put the character ID into this URL here. So I can say slash, and then I'm gonna put the character ID like so. So now let's go back to page here, and as you can see we have some warning because we need to use detail character like so, and we still get a warning because it's expected one argument, and the argument it should be a string. That's the beauty about TypeScript, guys. If I put a number, as you can see we have some warning. Type number is not assignable to parameter string. If I put a boolean, also I get a warning. It should be string, and the string should become from this ID, so I can put the ID like so. Great. So now the character here is basically make a request in this URL, and I'm going to console log the character to make sure that we get the ID, the data. And as you can see, we have some warning going on because, as you can see here, this ID is not available. So let's go back to just localhost 3000, and for now this detail is not working. So let's go back to the page app here. Oh, in the cart, character cart. So in here, we are going to add like link. So let's go through the Next.js, and I think we can go through the let's search for link. I think let's say link, and as you can see, we can use this link come from next link. So I'm going to change this button into link. This link should become from next link. So we can just copy this ref here, copy that and put that right here. And of course the URL it should be character slash whatever the ID. So I can say character.id, just like that. So now let's try it. So I'm gonna go to Marvel-Pedia and click this detail, and as you can see now we on the character slash the ID. I can go back, click this, and of course this is basically the ID. Nice. If I see in the terminal, we should see the data here. Great. As you can see, we have the ID, name, description, thumbnail, etc. So in here we can use the data. So here I'm going to add class name called container, and this is gonna be display flex, and the flex direction I'm gonna say flex column, and also the gap I'm gonna set that to 5, and also the items I'm gonna set that to center. Great. So inside this container I'm going to put image. So I think we can just copy and paste come from this card. So we can just copy this and paste that right here, just like that, and just make sure we import the image come from next image. And as you can see, we have some warning here because the result is basically array. So now we can access that by say characters dot result. So you can say dot result, and I'm going to access the array 0 like so, and it's gonna be work. As you can see, we get the image. Really cool. And also down here I'm gonna put the name and also the description. So here I'm gonna say div. So this div here basically have a class name, and I'm gonna say maximal width I'm gonna put 4xl, and just make it center mx auto, and also the text I'm gonna set that to center. And inside this div here I'm going to put heading 1, and in here I'm gonna say name. So I think here in top here I can say cons set equals to, and I'm going to put the character result array 0 like so. And I'm going to access the thumbnail here. So let's say thumbnail, and also name, name, and also the description. And of course we can just remove all of this like so, and we can put the name here, name, and then paragraph I'm gonna put the description here, just like that. And let's save and let's take a look. As you can see, let's make it more bigger. So in heading 1 I'm gonna say class name into text 3xl, and also the font let's say bold, and also the margin bottom I'm gonna say 4, and boom, great. In the description I'm gonna say class name, text I'm gonna do small, and also the font I'm gonna say light. Great. But as you can see, when I click this icon here, it's not redirect me to the home page. So let's go to navbar, and basically I'm gonna change this Daisy UI into Marvel-Pedia. And when I click this, I need to go through the home page. So here I'm going to use link. Let's say link, I'm from next link. And here we need to say ref, and I'm going to do / just like that. All right, so let's try to click this detail, and here we go. You can go back by click this navbar icon. Nice, everything look working nicely. And the next thing we need to do is the search functionality here. If I click here, if I typing something here, if I hit enter, it should be open the new tab, which is /search. Okay, so now let's go to the app here, and I'm gonna create another folder called search. So let's do search, and inside this search I'm gonna create a file called page. So we can say page.tsx, and again we can say functional component, and this page here, it should be short page, like so. And now let's just close this terminal, and if I go to search, like so, and it should be open the search page component, which is great. And what we need to do now is when I click something in here, when I typing something inside search, when I click enter, it should be open search, and we are gonna send the query. All right, so let's go through the I think I'm gonna close here, just open the navbar and the page inside the search here. All right, so in here, inside this input, I'm going to add a couple props inside this input. The first thing is the value. It should be a query search, come from the state. So up here, I'm going to create state. This state is basically called query search, like so. And this is gonna be string, and by default it should be empty string. And of course we need to import that. And if we use state, as you can see, we have the warning, you are importing component that need useState. So useState is work only in client component. So here we can add keyword called use client, like that, and now it should be work. Great. And here we need to add on change event. Let's say on change set equals to, we grab the event, and here I'm going to set the query search into e.target.value. Great. And down here I'm going to add on key down, and here I'm going to run the handle search. So let's copy that, and in the top here I'm going to say const handle search set equals to arrow function, and it's going to be take event. This event here is basically keyboard event, and this keyboard event, it should be HTML, I think HTML input element, like so. Great. So in here I'm gonna do if the event dot key is enter, when I click enter, like so, and if the query search is not empty, so I'm going to say dot trim, it's going to be remove all the space, and is not empty, I'm going to say set query search into empty string. And also down here I'm going to say router. So first we need to const router set equals to use router. So let's go to the documentation, and I'm looking for use router, this one, and as you can see it should become from next navigation. So let's say next navigation, like so. Great. And now here the use that is pretty simple. We can say router.push, and whatever the page you want. So you can say router.push, and I'm gonna push into the, I'm gonna use backtick, and let's say search, and I'm gonna send the query, let's say query set equals to, and I'm gonna put the value of this state here, just like that. Nice. So let's just try it. So here I'm going to go back to the home page here, and I'm gonna looking for man, for example. If I click enter, as you can see, now we on the search and then we send this query man. Great. So now let's go back to the page here. So first, I think we need to just remove these props here. We don't need that. Let's remove this empty string. And oh, this is basically not really important, guys. You can just remove that if you don't like it. I just like to put that like so. Doesn't really matter basically. All right, so now I want to get the query value. So how do we do that? Let's go back here, and basically we can use search params. So here I can say cons, let's say search params set equals to use search params come from next navigation, and down here I'm going to say cons query search set equals to search params dot get, I think, yep, dot get, and we're going to get the params that we need to get, which is query. All right, so let's put that here, query like so. When I console log this, it should be man. And I save, and as you can see, oh yeah, because we're using use search param, it should be client component. So here the search, it should be client component. So you can say use client like so. Great, it should be work. If I open the console, we should see this man here because this is client component. So if you console log something, it should be inside the browser. If you on the server component, if you console log, it should be inside your terminal. Let's just styling this a little bit. I'm going to add class name. Class name, it should be container. Let's say container. And also here I'm going to add the text into center, and also the margin top I'm going to set that to 10. And also inside in here I'm going to say heading 1, and I'm going to put the, let's say, search for this, basically span. I'm going to add like so, and I'm going to put the query search just like that. Oh, as you can see, can be escaped with, oh, we are going to use this one here. So let's just copy this and put that right here. Great, as you can see, it's going to be search for man. We have the like quote here. And let's styling this a little bit. Let's say class name. I'm going to do text 3XL, and also the font I'm going to do bold. Nice. So now we are going to fetch data from the API, and because this is client component, we are going to use effect here. So we can say use effect like so. Use effect, just make sure you import up here from React, and in here I'm going to put function and add a dependency. The dependency, it should be the query search like so. And in here I'm going to create function called fetch, let's say fetch data set equals to, and this is going to be async with function. So I'm going to do async, and inside in here I'm going to use try and catch. Let's do try and catch. I grab the error. Inside this try I'm going to do cons data set equals to await, and in here I'm going to fetch the data from the API. So we're going to create a function called search character, say characters like so, and we are going to put the query search inside the function. So we don't have yet, so let's create into the api.ts, and in here I'm going to copy and paste this function, and also the name, it should be this search character here. So let's copy and paste that right here, and this is basically query. Instead of character ID, this should be a query search like so. And inside this documentation, I cannot find search functionality for the get request, but I found something really similar inside the public / characters endpoint here, which is we are going to use the name star with. So I'm going to copy this, and I want to put that into right here. So I'm going to add question mark here. It's going to be question mark, and then name start with set equals to the query string, like so. And here I'm going to add, let's say, limit. I'm going to do, depend on what you want, guys. So I want to put 99, and we need to send also the query, which is the query come from here. So now let's go back to page here, and I'm going to import the search character function. And this query string is this cannot be null. So here I think we can add another condition, which is null. So now the error should be gone. Great. So now up here I'm going to create another state. Let's create state here, and I'm going to give a name characters, like so. And also the use state should be come from React, and the type it should be, let's say, character, come from types, and the character it should be inside the array, and by default it should be empty array. And also I'm going to create another state called loading, or is loading. I want to say is loading, like so. Is loading is basically a boolean. So let's do boolean, and by default it should be false. Great. So in here I'm going to set the is loading to true, and also down here after we doing all of this, I'm going to do set is loading back to false, just like that. And down here I'm going to say console error. Let's say console error into error, like so. And inside in here what I'm going to do is set the characters into data.results, just like that. And as you can see, this function here is not called, so I'm going to check first if the query search have a value. We need to run the fetch data down here, just like that. Great. So now if I console log the character, we should get a data. So let's console log characters, and let's see into the browser. Let's go to Marvel-Pedia, and as you can see we have 7 data here, and it's gonna be great. And now we can put all this information into the cart here. So down here the first thing is I'm going to check if the is loading is true. I'm going to render a div here. So let's say div, but else I'm going to render another div, and this div here have a class name called I think I just want to copy from the page app here. Let's just copy all this style, or maybe I'm going to copy all of this. Let's copy that and paste that right here, like so. And character, it should be character.map, and also character cart, we need to just import that. Great. And inside this div here I'm gonna do, let's say, loading. Let's say loading 3 dot, and inside this div I'm gonna do class name margin top to 10, just like that. So now as you can see we have the data here. As you can see, if I change this, as you can see we have the loading, right? It's pretty cool. And the loading here is, you can change the loading to another component if you want. So I think let's create another component called loading bars. So let's go to component here. I want to create a file called loading bars, something like that, .tsx. Great. So here I'm going to do functional component, and also these loading bars have a class name. Let's say class name props, and this is going to be string, and this class name here is basically optional, and we can grab the class name. Let's say class name, class name, and also down here I'm going to get the loading bars come from the Daisy UI. So I'm gonna click this loading here, and I'm gonna use the loading bars right here. So I think we can just copy that. I'm gonna use the medium size. Let's copy that, and I'm gonna put that right here. And inside this div, I'm going to add class name, and this class name here is basically will be sometime the class name will be updated right here, which is sometime we have new class name inside this div here. So here I'm gonna say display flex items. I'm gonna do center, and justify I'm gonna do center as well. So let's save, and I'm going to use this loading bars component into the search here. So let's paste that right here, like so, as a component, of course. And we are going to import that. Let's do like so. And now let's go back here. If I'm looking for, I'm not sure, let's say U, and if I hit enter, as you can see, we get loading, and then we have 21 data here. And of course, we need to remove the console log. All right, everything look working perfectly fine. But as you can see, if I go back to the home, we not get any loading. So how do we add loading into the server component? It's simple. So here inside the app, you can create a file called loading. So let's say loading. And in here, it's basically functional component. I'm going to remove the props. We don't need that. And also let's remove this empty object. And I'm gonna return the loading bars. So I'm gonna say loading bars. And here I'm gonna add class name called Hake into screen. Like so, because I want to should be screen. I want to put loading to the center here. So if I refresh, I should be empty cache and hard reload. As you can see here, we have the loading, and then we have the data. All right, cool. And also if I go to detail, I also get the loading. If you want to have another loading skeleton, maybe you need to also create loading inside this character here. So now I'm going to showing you how to handle error. So basically, if I change the API here to something like, I want to remove the S here to, oh yeah, I think we are going to use this get character. I'm going to remove the S here. And of course, this is going to be error, right? We don't want to see this error like so. Of course, we need to add another error. We need to handle that. So inside the server component, we can do error.tsx, just like that. So here I'm going to say functional component, and this error here by default have error props, like so. This error is basically have a type error, and also we get the reset. Reset is basically a function that will, the function will be refetching the data. So let's see. Yeah, error, it should be client component, so we need to use client here. So we can say use client. So now the error should be gone. And as you can see, after refetching data, if something wrong happened, it should be returning this component, but it's still loading. Let's try to refresh, or I think we can just empty cache and hard reload. And as you can see here, we have the error. The error here is basically come from this component. So let's just styling this a little bit, and I'm gonna give a class name here, say display flex a direction to column, and also the gap I'm gonna say 6. Let's do item to center, like so, and also the justify to center. And also the Hake, I'm gonna say 100 view Hake, which is Hake screen. And inside in here, I'm gonna say heading 2, and I'm gonna say something when wrong, like that. And also down here, I'm gonna do button. This button have, let's say try again text, like so. Let's styling the heading 2 a little bit. Class name, text, maybe 3XL or something. Right, inside the button here, I'm gonna add a class name called btn let's say error. And as you can see, if something wrong happened in your application in server component, it should be showing something like this. And if I click try again, it should be refetching the data. And it's not going to be fixing the problem because we set the API to wrong URL. So if I make it right, of course, now it should be working. Oh yeah, the try again here is not working because we don't yet add anything in this on click event. So we can say on click event, and this on click is basically will run the reset. So we can say reset. Oh, of course we need to get the error and also the reset, so we can use the reset down here like so. Now if I click this try again, as you can see, it should be refetching the data. Yeah, I think we're done with this project, guys. As you can see, it's working perfectly nice. If I click detail, it should be showing the detail. If I search something else, let's say G, if I hit enter, it should be showing the result here. As you can see, nice. I can go back and yep, everything look working perfectly fine. But if you want to see the like error or loading, etc., you want to learn more, you can just go through the documentation and just looking for anything you want. So let's looking for error.js. As you can see, this is the error.js. As you can see here, we get the reset error and also the reset. We get the also the type here. Basically, I just copy and paste that come from here. And also you can learn from here. You can see loading, and also you will find the not found. And this is basically if user go to another page that not found, it should be not showing this one. It's pretty weird, but of course you can use this not found file. It will be great. I think we can just try that. So I'm going to copy this, and inside the app here, I'm going to create a file called notefound.tsx. Let's paste that right here. And let's see, as you can see, this is rendered. All right. So of course I can do link ref is going to be like, let's say go back to home. Now we can just click that and should be go back to the home page. Okay. I think the better way to learn the Next.js is into the documentation, because this is a really great documentation that you can find. Alright, you can learn a lot of things from here, and hopefully this video will be the starting point that you want to learn Next.js 13 app router. So hope you guys learn something new, and see you in the next one.